昨日は皆さん、応援してくれて本当にありがとうございました。日本初のウェルター級世界チャンピオンになって歴史を変えようと思ってましたけど、あと一歩というか、届かなかったのが、すごく正直悔しい気持ちで、皆さんにその姿をお見せできなくて、すごく悔しい気持ちでいっぱいです、今は。特に異常もなくて、ただ頭、打たれて、ちょっと記憶が飛んでたぐらいですね。今は戻ってきてます。もう絶対世界チャンピオンになると思うんですけど、でもやることが、やっぱ、まだ赤ちゃんだなと思いました、自分が。レベルが。やっぱノーマン選手やって、本当全てレベル高くて、それと比べたときに、自分のボクシングスキルは、まだ全然ダメな、レベルの低い、薄いなっていうのをすごく感じたんで、こ
こにいるうちの本物のスクールスポーツのために行こうぜ、ベイビーバンとの国は気をつけて、現実になることがありますからね。
Alright, so we're going to go ahead and continue the long-standing tradition of covering Japanese boxing here on True School Sports. True School Sports, the #1 source for Japanese boxing in America, from an American. Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. And Ayete Yokasta, nice to see everybody here showing that love, that passion, that support for the sport of boxing. Listen, guys, this is a follow-up video to Brian Norman Jr. versus Jin Sasaki. You know, was an explosive night of boxing where I think we did get the 2025 knockout of the year to this point of the year so far. But this video is about Jin. This video is not about Brian Norman Jr. I've talked enough about Brian Norman Jr. I want to talk about Jin because, you know, first and foremost, it was reported after the fight that Jin Sasaki got knocked out so bad against Brian Norman Jr. that apparently, according to the chairman of the gym, Issei Nakaya, that he lost recollection and he lost his memory of anything that's happened to him for the last 5 to 6 weeks. He couldn't recall that there was a fight. He couldn't recall what happened to him. He couldn't recall anything. So very scary stuff. Now, when I saw the quotes and when I saw what was being reported out there, you know, I have a personal relationship with Issei Nakaya. So I messaged Nakaya and I asked him, I said, you know, is it true? Like, is his memory really that bad? And here's what he said verbatim, word for word. He stated the following, and I quote, "Thank you, BT. Jin is okay now. We met at the gym and he said it's okay. He's going to rest and then he's going to move again. Thank you for your message. He's still a bit lost now, but he's starting to remember some of the rounds of the fight." So that right there, guys, that will tell you how brutal this sport of boxing can be, you know, and respect to Jin Sasaki. Now, look, back in the States, a lot of people have began to talk trash about Jin, which is understandable. I understand that, like, he got outclassed and he got, you know, exposed as not being at that level where Brian Norman Jr. is. So fair play. You're well within your right to talk trash if you feel like, you know, he got exposed, which he did. You know, he couldn't. Very reckless, leaky defense. He paid for every mistake, every flaw. He paid for. So fair enough. But I feel like, truth be told, like I have a hard time really making disparaging remarks about Jin. Because I'll tell you guys why. You know, I sit here week after week. I cover fight after fight. And many times, at all weight classes, at all levels, I have to talk about fighters that don't put the best foot forth in the ring. They leave things to be desired. They don't try their best. They leave things on the table. Jin didn't leave anything on the table. He with whatever skill set he had, he literally had to get nailed to the canvas. Which by the way, guys, I said in the build up to this fight, and I told you guys whenever I would talk about Jin, that one of the things that I felt made him dangerous, not just for Brian Norman Jr., but any welterweight in the world, is the fact that, you know, he can punch, he is athletic, but he has that Japanese fighting spirit to where you're gonna have to beat him to where you carried him out the ring. So I said it many times. For Brian Norman Jr. to beat Jin Sasaki in sensational fashion, he was going to have to beat him to where they had to carry him out the ring. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. So I wasn't wrong on that. But as far as his career, like, look, he's 23 years old. That was a kind of knockout that could not just alter your career, but alter your life. So it's very debatable if he ever gets back to the world level. But let's have it right. He made it to the world level. And when you really like check under the hood and you look at Jin Sasaki's boxing career as a whole, to make it to the world level with his lack of experience actually shows you, and it's actually a credit to the talent he is. So look, Jin Sasaki was 1-3 as an amateur. He had 4 amateur fights. He did not start taking boxing serious until his high school years. He's 23 years old, so high school wasn't even that long ago. High school was about 5 to 6 years ago. And then, as far as being a professional fighter, a professional welterweight from Japan, there's not a lot of top sparring readily available to him. So he had to go to the States and spar at Salah's gym a lot, So he got to this level basically off of balls, punching power, and some athleticism. He doesn't have any defense to speak of. He doesn't really have a world-class jab to speak of. Like, the 2 things you'd probably say matter the most at the world-class level, he didn't have any of those things, and he got to the world level. So that actually tells you how talented and how dynamic of a fighter Jin Sasaki is. Because let's have it right. For those of you out there who don't know, there was fights here in Japan at the Japanese level that he wasn't even expected to win. Keito Obara is the most notable fight he had. Guy's been a former world title challenger. That was a fight a lot of people thought he would lose. Even before that, there was a fight where he fought a guy named Kakai Yuba, and he got dropped a couple times in that fight, and a lot of people thought he was going to lose that fight. So there's been times where Jin Sasaki had to prove himself to get to this point, because he's not Inoue, he's not Hayato Tsutsumi, Reito Tsutsumi. He's not one of these world-class Japanese talents that get bankrolled all this money from Hideki Ohashi or Mr. Honda. No, this guy had to really, really learn on the job, and learn on the job he did. And it's unfortunate that the fight ended that way it did for him, but I can't really talk down on him, because, this fight was so crazy because Brian Norman Jr. entered this fight as the youngest world champion currently in boxing. But if Jin Sasaki would have won, he would have replaced him as the youngest world champion currently in boxing. So both guys stepped up to the plate. They made a really fun matchup for the boxing fans happen. And in boxing, there has to be one winner and there has to be one loser. And in this case, it was Jin Sasaki. This is a culmination of not correcting his mistakes in the gym. I vividly remember, because I was down at that gym a lot, and I got a lot of love for the Nakaya gym. Issei Nakaya, his father, my friend Jan Backus, who just turned pro, who's 1-0 as a heavyweight, just fought in the tournament. Him, Kento, young professional. Like, there's a lot of good people at that gym that I love that make me excited to cover Japanese boxing. But I got to be honest. Defense is not something that is taught there. And I remember when I was talking to Nakaya's dad, I said, against Brian Norman Jr., I told him, I said, you got to be more sophisticated in this fight. You got to have more defense in this fight. You got to there has to be more of a focus on what Jin Sasaki does when he throws a punch and making a miss, looking to counter. And, he really didn't heed what I was telling him. And he started talking about punching power and aggression and the warrior spirit, which are all great things. They're all parts of the equation when it comes to producing a top fighter, but it's not the whole equation. You need to have, at that level, all the qualities, and Jin does not have it right now at this point in his career. Maybe he'll never have those things, because we'll see how it goes. But I think he's a credit to Japanese boxing and boxing in general, because a lot of guys take forever to fight or don't be in these fights at all. And he took that fight at 23 years old. So I just can't do it. I can't do it. Yeah, he's flawed. I know this coming in. The same things that made him a mismatch or inferior to Brian Norman Jr. are also the same things that made people get excited about him in the first place. The fact that he will go balls to the wall. He'll throw punches from all kinds of crazy angles. He'll go for the knockout shots, and he doesn't care if he gets hit in the process. So, it comes with the territory. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. But I'm just happy to report, as you guys saw in the beginning of this video, that he's okay. He was at Hachiochi Nakaya Boxing Gym earlier today. And he reported that his health is good. He's walking, he's talking, he's starting to get some of his memory back. So it's all a good thing, He definitely needs at least a year, probably more, maybe even a year and a half, because that wasn't no regular knockout he suffered. And then he can come back and be better. But he's gonna have to look at his weaknesses and start working on turning those weaknesses into strengths, because that's what truly world championship fighters do. And I want to see him become a world champion. one day in the future. But right now, that's not his time. It's Brian Norman's time. And yeah, so Jin Sasaki, one of Japan's true warriors, somebody that I think is still going to be involved in some pretty good fights at welterweight. I mean, we had Sora Tanaka on the undercard last night, the Hamano Tyson, the Mike Tyson in Yokohama. I feel like he's going to be someone that they match Jin Sasaki with at some point, and I think that's actually a very winnable fight for him because they both don't really have no great defense, and, you know, I think he's probably the bigger one-punch guy, so, you know, that will probably be the next big fight in the coming years for him, and hopefully, you know, I'd like to see him win because I like Jin, but until then, he has to work on his defense and his boxing skills, you know, not pulling straight back out after he jabs, but yeah, he took the fight at 23, all respect to him, and truth be told, like, Brian Norman Jr., we now we know he's really, really good. We found that out over the last year or so with these fights against Santion and Cuevas and Sasaki. That loss might not be so bad in a couple years. He may fight a guy like Stanionis or Jaron Ennis or someone of a high standing in boxing, and he may knock them out in 5 or 6 or 7 rounds, and it may not look so bad. So let's wait and see how that loss ages for him. But until then, you know, those are my thoughts on Jin. Hopefully, I see him before I leave Japan because I want to, you know, give him my best and talk to him a little bit. But yeah, what did you guys think? What do you think Jin Sasaki goes from here? Leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take care, guys. Thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire. For more great boxing content just like this, make sure you guys stay tuned and subscribe. You won't be disappointed.